back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life, the podcast. You're listening to 5 Minute Fridays with Coach Myrna. Today, in reverence for Black History Month, and for because I am now getting into American history, I want to share with you a book summary from Booker T. Washington's book, Up from Slavery. This book has been so inspirational to me that I need to honor Booker T. Washington's work and share it to you. I believe that that is part of my duty. So, Up from Slavery is a powerful autobiography of Booker T. Washington, a man born into slavery who rose to become one of the most influential Black leaders in American history. First published in 1901, this memoir chronicles Washington's journey from the brutal realities of enslavement to his pivotal role as an educator, orator, and founder of the Tuskegee Institute. So let's start at the beginning. Washington's story begins on a Virginia plantation where he was born into slavery during the mid 19th century, or to be specific, 1856 or 1857. He says he's not sure of the day he was born or the year he was born, but he can, put it accurately to one of those 2 years. He details a life on the plantation from the eyes of a child. He told about almost being naked in the summer and winter, since children who did not work, got no clothing allowance. He details sleeping on rags and a dirt floor and eating with his hands from a throat, the same throat that they fed the pigs. So he was just eating slop like the pigs, um, uh, and eating it with his fingers. He never knew his father, but was suspicious that his slave master was his father. And then as he got older on in life, he realized that it was not his father. And then he went on to say that, children of plantation owners, the reader might think that they got special privileges. But in fact, he said it was even harder for the little mulatto children because the wives of these masters knew that they were sleeping with the slaves and hated the kids. So they got worse treatment. And a lot of times, to please their wife, the masters would sell them. So they had no affinity, parental or otherwise, for their slaves. So he was born into slavery. He talked about the grim life as a child on the plantation, never really had any issues with his master because, he was a child, he couldn't work. But luckily for him, at a young age, he was, following the Emancipation Proclamation, which happened around 1865. So he, was free. Now, his mother married a man that was not living on the plantation because they sent him away, which is the custom during slavery. The family unit was not preserved. In fact, it was downright forbidden because they didn't want you to have any ties, didn't want you to have any love or anything. So the father of his brothers and sister lived in West Virginia. So as soon as they were free, the father sent for the mother and his kids, and he talked about him. They had to walk from Virginia to West Virginia, sleeping by the roadside, cooking by the roadside, and it was a long walk for a child. But as soon as he got there, the stepfather put him to work. He recognized that he had value and he put him to work in the salt mines. You know, he saw the children going to school and decided that he wanted to learn. But the father said that no, you're too valuable. You got to work, right? You got to help feed the family. So, he coaxed his mother to get him a book. She got him a spelling book, and he started teaching himself the alphabet and to spell. So later on, he found tutors to teach him during night school, and even that he said it was hard to do because the Negroes that were pretending to have an education, most of them knew as little as him. So it didn't take much to become a teacher, but he continued to, you know, do night school, sometimes walking for 2 miles to go to someone's house to teach him, to tutor him because he wanted to learn. Education was very important to him. It was in his spirit. When God plants a seed, all you got to do is water it. But one day, so he started working in the salt mines and then he worked in the coal mines. And one day, when he was in the coal mines, he heard these guys talking about a school for colored people that was called the Hamptons, and it was in Virginia. So he decided that he was going to go to that school come hell or high water because it sounded to him like heaven. So for the next couple of years, he worked towards getting a little bit of money so that he can have travel expenses to get to Virginia. It was 500 miles from Malden, Virginia, which is where he was, to Hampton, Virginia. So he set off, with a little bit of clothes, like two pieces or something, a little bit of money, right? Most of the way he had to walk, he was able to take a coach for some of the way. One of the things he said that one time he was on this coach and they stopped at a house that was supposed to be a hotel, and he presented himself to the innkeeper, and the guy looked at him, didn't care. He didn't have any money because he didn't have any money, but he was just seeing it if he couldn't work, for his keep. And the guy looked at him and said he was not welcome. And that was the first time that he was blatantly, knew that he was black for the color of his skin, even though he was a slave. So, he was black. But it was winter time and he had to stay outside all night because he wasn't allowed in. So then he got to Richmond, Virginia, and didn't have any place to eat, didn't have any food to eat, didn't have any money for any room and board. And, he decided that he was going to sleep on the sidewalk. There's a sidewalk that raised up, and he decided to sleep on the sidewalk. In the morning, when he woke up, he was so hungry, didn't have any food. He saw a ship, unloading. So he went and asked to do some work so he can get money to eat. So he worked there for a couple of days, and got enough money to continue his travel to get to the Hampton in Virginia. When he got there, he had only 50 cents in his pocket for his education. Isn't that amazing that you can go to a school and with no money and, hope to get an education? Anyway, he got there after his journey, smelly, because at that time he says nobody knew anything with baths and brushing your teeth and hygiene or any of that stuff. Smelly, dirty, hungry, didn't have any money. And this teacher is looking at him like, this is just a bum. What can we do for him? So he hung around, getting more discouraged all the time. She was, enrolling all the students and just leave him sitting there. And then I guess she had an idea to see if he knows how to work. So she asked him to sweep a room, and he recognized that this was his chance. So he said that he swept that room because in one of his jobs, he was working for a Yankee woman that taught him how to clean. So he said he swept that room 7 times. Then he took a cloth or a handkerchief and went over every piece of furniture, every doorpost, every the thing at the bottom, everything he went over 7 times. So when the lady went to check it, she couldn't find a speck of dirt. She would run her finger along here, she would check there, and then she realized that, all right, maybe we can use him after all. But the other benefit of cleaning that room so well is that she offered him a job as a janitor. So he was able to pay for his room and board by being a janitor. So his experiences, he was in that school, his experiences in the Hampton really, instilled on him that the Negro race needed education after slavery, because almost 100% of them did not know to read and write after slavery, because the slave owners said that education and slaves don't go together, right? They deliberately kept them ignorant. So, one of the defining themes of Washington's philosophy was racial uplift, uplifting the Negro race. He advocated for Black Americans to focus not only on vocational training and economic self-reliance as a pathway to dignity and respect in a socially segregated society, but he also said that along with book knowledge, you have to learn a trade. You have to do labor, right? And one of the things that happened during slavery is because slaves had to work in the field. They did the manual labor when someone whipped them and beat them and tell them whatever. And they started an abhorrence for labor. They thought that, all right, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to learn bookwork so that I don't have to do labor. So he had to change their mentality on that. You know, this perspective was famously articulated in his 1895 Atlanta Exposition speech, where he encouraged cooperation between the Black and the white communities, emphasizing that in all things purely social, we can be as separate as the fingers, yet one as the hand in mutual progress. So, after graduating from the Hampton Institute, he was offered a job at the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. When he arrived there, he found the school, quotation mark school, in a broken down hen house with no desk, no blackboard, no nothing, right? So, he tried with it, he worked with it. They had like 13 students at the time. And, a little while after, he got the opportunity to purchase a plantation that was burnt down. This plantation had 100 acres. And listen to this, hold on to your hats. It was only $500. 250 down and 250 on terms. But even the 250, he had zero money. After working for some time now, to have zero money. So, because he was building up a reputation, credit, so he went and asked somebody from the Hampton Institute for a loan. The guy gave him a personal loan of 250. So they got the school from this plantation and they started doing fundraising activities to pay off the other 250. Because he recognized that credit and paying off your debt is important. So he made sure that he always paid off his debt because credit is important. So the school became a beacon of hope. What happened is they had no, there was just, it was just 100 acres. They had nothing on it. So he had to teach the students, I should say, how to build houses. When they came to school, they need someplace to stay. He taught them how to build houses. He taught them how to plant crops to eat. They learned agriculture. Later on, they learned how to make bricks. They learned how to make mattresses. They became self-sufficient. So when they left that school and they went into their communities, they had a trade. They learned labor. They had book knowledge and they also learned a trade. At the time of his writing, the plantation had 40 buildings, and he said almost all of them, with the exception of a few, were built by the students. They added electricity, they added plumbing, and everything. They learned every trade. And The 100 acres was now almost 2,400 acres, so they were able to buy more at the time. One of my dreams is I'm heading to Alabama in a couple of weeks, and I hope it's still there, that I can go check that out. So the school was important for the Black race. It was the start of something great, a beacon of hope, training generations of Black men and women in skilled trade and agricultural practices, because the Negro race needed to be built up. So, what are the key lessons from Up from Slavery? Education as liberation. Washington's life demonstrates the transformative power of education and the importance of lifelong learning. Number two, hard work and perseverance. His story is a testament to resilience in the face of adversity. Number three, practical self-reliance. Washington's emphasis on vocational training highlights the need for Black Americans to gain economic independence and stability. And number four, the big one, navigating racial realities. The book underscores Washington's belief in forging alliances and building bridges, even in a hostile social climate. One of the things that impressed me with the book is he never hated white people. He was always trying to work together with them. He had a lot of white people that gave him money for his school and helped to build up the Black race. Not all of them were plantation slave owners and, racial people. So he, was able to commend them for helping to build up the Black race. So why did I choose Up from Slavery for Black History Month? Because Booker T. Washington's memoir, again, I just read it. I mean, this is something that I should have read a long time ago, but I just read it, so I'm late to the party, is more than just a personal story. It's a testament to the resilience, ingenuity, and strength of Black Americans in the face of unimaginable hardship. Go pick up a copy of this book and read the details of what slaves had to go through. His life reminds us of the power of hope, education, and unity in the struggle for justice and equality. As we celebrate Black History Month, Up from Slavery stands as a timeless call to honor the past, uplift one another, and continue striving for progress. This Black History Month, let Washington's journey inspire us all to cast down our buckets where we are and build a better future together. Look for an episode on that, because that's one of the beautiful things that I took away from this book. And I have a full episode on cast your buckets down where you are. I love it. All right, guys. Well, listen, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of 5-Minute Fridays with Coach Myrna. Today, we looked at one of the pillars of Black American history, Booker T. Washington, and his book, Up from Slavery. If you have not read it, go get a copy. It's free on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, namaste.